Hell with Vince McMahon. I don't need him.
Radiation is a curious thing. No one expects what it would bring.
Well, hello. Here we are again for another edition of Cato Reviews. Today I have a very special guest. But first, I'm looking good, feeling good, loving life. I hope that you can say the same. Well, I'm sort of looking good. I got bit by a dog on Thursday, so don't look real close right here. You'll see a hideous monstrosity here and here. And I might get bit by another, a beast. Which brings me to my guest today. He is the Beastman Wes Fetty.
Cato,
What would you like for me to call you today?
Call me Wes.
Wes, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Let's go ahead and jump right into it. How did the love of wrestling start for you?
It's back when I was about, I would say 4 or 5 years old. My mom was a big wrestling fan, and I never really knew much about it. I mean, I was like everybody watching Rock and Wrestling, the cartoon series back then, but I didn't really know what the stuff on TV was, what actual professional wrestling was. And finally, like, my mom took me to a house show, my very first live wrestling event. I was probably 3, 4 years old. And the very first match I ever saw was Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart. And I was in love ever since. Like, I remember this one specific spot they did where Henning, when Henning was like running his mouth, Bret smacked him in the face, and Henning spit his gum out. I was like, wow, this is great. I love this. And then that's the first time I ever saw Hulk Hogan live. I've been hooked ever since. That's all I wanted to do since then. Like, that's all my whole life was just wrestling. I'm like, no matter what I want to do, like, I want to watch I got old tapes. I got, probably every Monday when it was still prime time wrestling, everything. I was obsessed and hooked, and that's been my whole life ever since 4 years old.
So you mentioned Hogan, you mentioned Hart, you mentioned Mr. Perfect. Did you have any favorites specifically, 2 or 3 that were your favorites growing up?
Just it depended on the years, because I mean, once you get older, there's always going to be different favorites. Obviously, Hulk Hogan is my very first favorite wrestler of all time. I then growing up when the Attitude Era came in, it was Goldust, Shawn Michaels when he was the Boyhood Dream. Then when getting older, about 11 or 12, I started watching Mankind. Started really digging the Mankind character, and then when he was evolving to Dude Love and Cactus Jack, that's when I really started loving Mick Foley. And I read his first book, and the person was what really got me to, not the wrestler, not all the hardcore stuff that he did in Japan, like ECW, and like the person made me not no homo, like fall in love with the character, because I could see a lot of similarities in him, like with myself. I mean, I grew up as an early child. He had brothers and sisters, and just like his love for wrestling, his tolerance for pain. When I played football in high school, I would always be the hardest hitting guy out there. I was always I was the biggest kid in the whole team. Like next day, I was like 260 pounds, and the guy next beside me was like 140. So going to a small Catholic school really doesn't help much with that. So just my love for the business and his love for the business, like when I started understanding that, really what made him my favorite wrestler of like that. Like, Mick Foley's my favorite wrestler of all time. And then when getting older and actually starting to get into the wrestling business, and I started loving guys like Vader, Bruiser Brody, Kamala, because they were my size, and I wanted to work like them and be like them. So that's how I would say, as a fan, my all-time favorite wrestler is Mick Foley. As a wrestler, I would say Bruiser Brody is my all-time favorite.
How do you think the Beastman compares, we're jumping around a little bit,
Sure,
to Bruiser Brody as a character?
There are a lot of similarities with Beastman and Bruiser Brody. The Husk, that's a complete copy from Brody. I'm not ashamed of saying that. The boots, some of my mannerisms are from Bruiser Brody. I try to I don't want to be a carbon copy of him. I want to be an updated version is what I'm trying to do. There's guys on the indies that are straight Bruiser Brody ripoffs, and I've seen them and watched them, and I don't want to be like that. So I try to put a little mix of myself and a little bit with him and a little bit of others, Missing Link, Kamala, Abdul the Butcher, Stan Hansen, like Vader, all the extraordinary characters that aren't really known for being a traditional wrestler is what I try to be.
Okay. So you were a WWF fan growing up.
Yes.
WWE at a certain point. How does this young kid who's a WWF fan find out about independent wrestling?
I got a story. You're going to like this story.
Okay.
I was 14 years old. I kind of like everybody grows out of that phase. Like I would still watch it on TV, but it was like I was focused on other things, like girls and football. And one of the alumni students was tried to start a wrestling promotion in Wheeling, so they gave out free tickets, and I was like, and the headliner was like the Clown. And I'm like, I want to go just because like I'm still a huge mark at the time. I don't know any better. And I go there, and lo and behold, Doink the Clown was TC Reynolds, and I didn't know that at the time. I got talking to him, and I was like, one of the main questions, like, so where's Dink at? Like, whatever happened to Dink? He's like, oh, he's in Mexico somewhere. Just because like I'm a big mark. First time I ever actually been to a, because I've heard of independent wrestling, like watching MTV and like True Life. I'm trying to be a professional wrestler when they had that, and just those like little tiny shows, but I never seen it actually in person. So I go to the show. It's at the Nelson Jordan Center in Wheeling, West Virginia, and the very first match on the show was Lord Zoltan, which he would have a big influence on like everybody around the area, including myself, a big influence. And he was taking on I can't remember. I know who it is. I don't know if you've ever met JT Hogg.
It's a name I've heard, but I've never met him.
He's from Ohio. It was his father. And I'm not and I forget his name. I'm very sorry, JT, if you watch this. I'm not trying to be mean. I completely don't remember. And like Zoltan, this is when he was wearing the red tights, the granny panty tights. And like I'm into like, yeah, you got granny panties and all. And, like I was so into it. And then there was this tag match. It involved two guys from Mount Lima, Elvis Elliott and Sweet Stevie Lee, who passed away a few years ago.
I remember both the names, yeah.
And they were taking on these, I forget who they were wrestling, and Sweet Stevie Lee's on the mic saying, there ain't nobody in here that come in this ring. I'll challenge anybody in this ring to come in here and kick my ass, or I'm sorry if like I'm...
No, whatever word you choose to use is fine.
Okay. I'm trying to keep
even
PG.
the F, whatever makes you feel good.
Okay. I'm trying to keep it PG. So
No, you tell your story how it comes.
Okay. And he's I'll challenge anybody in the ring, and then I'm like I'll take you on, think 14 years old, I got nothing to lose. So he's like, well, come on, fat boy, and I'm like, all right. So I actually slid in the ring. Like I was getting ready to go. I actually slid in the ring. He started stomping me. Thankfully, it was a work stomp, and the security pulls me out. They're like, "Sit down, you don't move the rest of the night." I'm just like, "Oh, what? Just
right?"
And it was that was my first experience. Is like it got my first like fan interaction. I guess my first spot or something, and I was just hooked. And then it was T Rancho's ring they were using, and I asked if I could get in the ring after the show, and I got in the ring, and like. Jimmy Garvin said in his Hall of Fame speech, first time he stepped in the ring, smelled the ropes, smelled the canvas, he knew he was home, and that's how I felt. And that's why I knew right then and there, that's why I wanted to do more than anything in my life, that's be a professional wrestler.
So how do you get from that 14-year-old kid that's having a great time at an independent show to a guy who is now, and like how did you first get into independent wrestling? How did the door open for you?
Oh, okay. Hey, this could be a whole show on itself right here. I'll be the first to tell you. I took shortcuts getting in. I didn't go to a real wrestling school until I say it was about 22. 16. There was a show and I got to like talk to local guys, like a couple local promoters, to be like, hey, I want to like be a wrestler. They let me help set the ring up, tear down. Start paying my dues early. And they let me get in there. And Brian O, I know you remember Brian O.
I know Brian O well, yeah.
He took me in the ring before a show in Ness, Ohio, and taught me how to bump. Took some bumps, ran the ropes. Really just got my feet wet. And then there was a show in Wheeling, West Virginia, in Dallas Pike, West Virginia. It was first time I ever heard Black Diamond Wrestling. It was their very first show. And I emailed the promoter, a guy named Rick. And I told him, hey, I was interested in becoming a wrestler. I do this and that. He's like, I'd like to come in. He's like, well, we're setting the ring up 8 o'clock Saturday morning at the Dallas Pike Days Inn, or Holiday Inn. He's like, all right, I'll be there. So I was the very first one there, and my mom was so mad. I didn't have my license yet. She was so mad. She took me there like 8 o'clock in the morning because she had to work at like noon. Of course, like my mom, she's my saint. Like she is my rock. Like my family. That's like, you got a big family. I don't have a big family, and she's what I like. She's like really my. She means more to me than anything. Well, we'll talk about that later. So sorry. Open the door. There's Rick. Rick and his partner Russ. He looked at me and he's like, back then this is when I was a stealth 265 pounds. He's like, you are huge. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. He's like, no, that's good because there's not a lot of big guys in the business. So, like, especially around here. And helped set up, did everything. I was there all day. Like the ring was set up like at 8 o'clock in the morning, like 9:30 in the morning. I was in that ring from just like bumping, like running the ropes from like 9 to like whenever the doors open. And like there's some guys came in, Darren Smythe, Dash Bennett, Nikita Alanoff. They kind of came in and helped me. Like they taught me a little bit of stuff. And Rick's like, hey, you want to be in a match? I'm like, what? Like 16 years old, he's like offering me to be in a battle royal, and I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, yeah, I want to do it. Like, let's go. So they set me up. They took me back. It's like just keep your hands, just keep your mouth shut, ears open. That's what I did. Lo and behold, like I should have kept that I should have still kept doing that, but. After getting in the Battle Royal, the first person that was in the Battle Royal was Jake Garrett, and of course, like any other new guy, I got chopped to hell and back, but it was a great experience and I loved it, and I just wanted to keep going. That's all I wanted to do. Like ever since then, I got that itch, and I just wanted to get in the ring and wrestle, but I didn't have proper training at the time. I wasn't fully trained. So I went to college. I had a couple other opportunities after that. Didn't end up well. Like kind of started giving me like a bad reputation that I didn't know at the time. And went to college for a semester for teaching. Came back home. Money was tight. Like I grew up in a rural area. Like money was never really good. Like especially like my mom being a single mother. School, like paying for tuition was hard. So I came back home, was looking for a job, and I met one of the guys that was helping my first, like at that first independent show was there, a guy named Michael Cruz. And I said, hey, would you train me? Because I wanted to get trained, because I wanted to pursue my dream. He's like, yeah, I'll train you. So didn't really, like his training, there was no training at all whatsoever. I would go to the ring, during the like XWF shows, I would go and help set up, tear down. Never got in the ring at all whatsoever. When we ever did have ring time, he would teach me like the same thing over and over again. I mean, I can get like he did have a good arm bar, but that was it. So, but he would always tell me, you gotta in this business, you gotta like act like you are the man. You gotta act like you're the shit. You gotta have an ego, and that's what I did. And a lot of people didn't like that, so I got myself blackballed for a while. Then eventually, I did one of those outlaw mud shows that Cornette likes to say. And Rick went with me, and I actually drove Rick home, and Rick and I were talking, and he's like, you need to come with us, fix you, we're going to get you the seat, you have a way, we're going to get it right with you. So for a while, so Rick talked to Nikita, when that time Nikita was the head trainer here at PWX, and I started coming up with Rick to shows. He was doing music at the time when they were up at Rinsky Park, and long story short, it got like Nikita and Jim had a falling out, so Rick actually set his ring up in his garage. So every Sunday for about 7 months, it was me and 2 other guys. We would be training. Like we trained in Rick's garage when it was cold, when it was hot. I mean, it was. That's how I got That's how I learned my basics. That's how I didn't learn my psychology until about maybe 3 or 4 years later.
What year was this when you really sort of
I was 20, so about 2006, 2007.
Okay.
And I moved away for a couple. Like when I first started out, I mean, I wasn't really the smartest guy in the world. I was kind of I was an annoying little kid. I just didn't really like when you grow up as an early child. It's like you always want things to be like, oh, me, because you got the attention on you. Like I didn't know how to share. Like it took me a long time to learn how to share it. Like share the spotlight with others, be able to like work within a team.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I didn't really like smarten up till I moved away, and then when I moved to Charleston, I went down there for my ex-fiancée. She was going to school to be a pharmacist, and I wanted a new start, so I moved down there, got a job, and I started learning how to work the Southern style, like learn how to tell stories. And Jimmy Valiant's wrestling school was only an hour from my house, so me and Matt Conard would go to Jimmy Valiant's wrestling school down in Shawsville, Virginia, every Sunday for about 7 months. That's when I learned how to tell a story. That's where I learned psychology, and that's like learned the little things that I try to like do in every like I mean more than like high spots and false finishes and that. And when I came back home, I was more. That's when I finally got fine tuned. That's when I was like. When I got to work with guys like you and Zoltan and and a lot of the more like Bill Collier and all these guys, that's when I finally like learned to get solid. And I guess you can say that's what made me the person who I am today in the ring. And
Yeah. I think that, I don't know what year it was that I met you, but I remember not thinking a lot of you as an in-ring performer. So many times in wrestling, I've seen so many guys come in and they're here. And you think, man, this guy has so much potential. And then they just go right along. They never get much better. Like, they never work on what needs to be done. And you're often disappointed with these guys. Equally, I see guys come in here. And if you can see it on the camera here. But they come in here, and then they start. And they stay right here. And rarely do I see guys that do what you did, that start clear down here, and you feel like that guy's never going to get it. And then they go to here.
Thank you.
So, like for you, like you're like a unicorn in indie wrestling because you went from somebody that I would say, not just me, but a lot of guys wrote off as never going to be really good at this, to proving a lot of guys really wrong. Like, you're really good at this now. And I know we're jumping clear to the end of where you're at now, but
no, that's totally fine.
Like, that's got to be a good feeling for you, right?
It is.
To prove, maybe not prove people wrong, but just to know that you've got to where you're at right now. It's got to feel really good.
It does, and I'm extremely humbled about it. The old me would, like, if like 5 or 6 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, that's right, prove y'all wrong, whatever. Now, but now it's like, okay, I'm up there, and I want to stay up there, but I want to help everybody else, you know? I'll give you a good example. The first time we worked with each other here a few years ago, I was really excited about it because I remember when we first met, like you said, you weren't really high on me, and I wanted to I want to prove it to him. I want to prove to you that I got this because you trained so many great guys. You trained LaRusso, you trained Bill, you trained Bobby Shields, you trained Calvin McGrath, and I wanted to show you that I was just as good as they were. And when we had that match, like when you came back to me, you said like you got it, and that meant like when you told me I had proved so much, that made me feel so good, and to me it was humbling because I was very appreciative. But if it wasn't for guys like you, I wouldn't be here. Like I wouldn't be at that point, you know.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'll say to you what I've said to lots of guys. I've tried to help tons of guys, but if guys don't really want it the way you wanted it, no matter how good a trainer is, whether it's Brandon Kay or Shirley Doe or me or Quinn or anybody that's really good at this, like if guys just don't want to really want it and really work on it, then they're never going to get good at it. So it's you. You did this. You went from here to here. You don't have to. I mean, you don't have to be a dick about it, but you don't have to credit anybody. You put the work in. You put the time in, and you should be proud of yourself. Not a jerk, but you should be proud of yourself.
I am.
You've really come a long way. You talked about this battle royal, but once you had finally had your first ever one-on-one match, do you have any initial memories of that?
Well, when I first started wrestling as Bulldozer with the mask and everything, my first tag match, because I got a good story about my first singles match. My first tag match was with Chris LaRusso. It was me and Devin Devine against Chris LaRusso and Super Oprah.
Okay.
And
pretty good group there to be.
Yeah, and it was for my first match. It actually wasn't too bad.
Okay.
And then I wrestled Jake Garrett.
Okay, how'd that go?
You know how when you're teaching guys, usually the first thing you teach them is how, like, whenever any match starts with a lockup, 95% of the time. So I'm circling in the ring with Jake. I'm come in for the lockup. So he's like this. I go in the lockup, boom, punches me right in the face. Okay. I'm like, what the hell, Jake? I didn't expect it. So here I come again. I go to lockup again, boom, it gets me again. I'm like, Jake, I'm trained. I'm trained now. You don't have to beat me up anymore. It's what's going through my mind. We get to the back. And did I do something to make you mad? I was like, no, man. That's how I start my matches out. Because I didn't understand styles. Like, he's a brawler. I didn't understand that yet. So, when I got in there when I was getting in there with guys that had more experience with me, it was finally ears open, mouth shut, listening to them. They let me get their ideas and stuff. I was very nervous. Scared. Wearing a mask made it harder for me to breathe, and even though I'm a big guy, I think I have pretty decent wind, and I'm an asthmatic as well. So I have to work a slow pace most of the time. But like with that mask on, like I didn't have until I got the open mouth, it was hard for me to breathe.
Yeah.
So I was able to go 10, 15 minutes, no problem. But I'm like, which
yeah. If you had a time machine here with you and could go back in time and you could go back and talk to yourself right before one of those first matches, maybe your first one, maybe your second one, and give yourself any type of advice, not just for that night, but for the next, 10 or 13, 14 years that were coming here, what kind of advice would you give yourself?
Go to college and finish.
Yeah, okay.
No, that and just lose the attitude and be humble.
Okay.
So be grateful for be grateful, because I'm grateful for being able to say now. I mean, you've seen my Facebook posts. I'm grateful every day waking up, being able to say, hey, I'm a professional wrestler. I'm living my dream. You know, and a lot of people defy is like, what does that mean? For me, everybody wants to get to the top. I want to get there like everybody else does, but my dream was just to be a wrestler, just to be able to do it. Because growing up, a lot of people was like, you can't be you're not going to do that, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was a dreamer in school. Like, but I was also a doer, and I wasn't going to have anybody tell me no. My mother hates me doing this, but she also understands this is my dream, and she's okay with that as long as I bring money home. Like, years ago, before I realized it's about the money, it's about the passion. I still got the passion, but now I don't want to go home being broke all the time. So,
sure. So, you have been shooting these videos lately, and we're sort of jumping ahead a little bit again.
That's fine.
Tell me about these videos that you've been shooting lately. They're really kind of fun.
Thank you. Honestly, it's been something I've been wanting to do for a while. It was just a matter of when. When was the right time to do it? And actually, a couple months ago, I was leaving I got done wrestling at a Mid-Ohio wrestling show, and me and a couple of guys went to go get some drinks after the match. I was still in my gear. So, obviously, I'm not going to go to a gas station in my wrestling get-up. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, told the guy, I'm like, what if I go in there and try to buy something with rocks? He's like, you won't do it. I'm like, you tell me I'm not going to do something, I'm going to do it. Like, I've always been one of those guys, like, watch me. I go outside, go get some rocks. He gets just like, go film this. So he goes in, I go in, and I'm like, I grab like shit and pour it on the thing. I'm painting rocks out my fucking cloth. He don't know. The guy doesn't know what the hell to do. There's like people standing there over there in the corner. They're like, what the hell? And then I just leave, and then 5 minutes later, I go back in. I'm sorry. Like I go back in and I let him know what we were doing and told him, and I cleaned up because it's just the kind of guy I am. And we leave, and I posted on Facebook, and it started getting some hits. I was like, all right. Then that during the Rural Record Battle Earl thing that we did just recently, it was a KFC eating lunch, and went up to the manager. He's like, hey, this I do this. Like showed her the videos. Like, can we do this here? She's like, let me call my manager and see what he says. She gave us the green light. I go back to the building, get my gear on, and here we go. And then it just started getting popular, and people were like, the KFC video got about 30,000 views in a day, which was big, which is huge. Like thankfully I got some bookings out of it, which was nice. Like I was just in New Jersey because of that. I got booked next year in Chicago for that, which was nice, and I got offered to go to Indiana next year as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I mean, it's okay. That's when I realized, hey, I'm onto something.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, when are you gonna do a video? When are you gonna do a video? If I do them all, when I did Sam Elias's Lucha Fiesta show, Sam's like, go out here, Mr. Do your spiel. I go out there, I'm like, trying to use the bathroom, like I'm just having fun doing my thing, and like people were like watching, like people were loving the videos and stuff, and I credit like thank you Sam for that, for letting me do that. And it's getting big, and like we just did one Tuesday for a slice of Broadway for Sword of Charm Media, sponsor for the Indie Mayhem show. They let us come in and do one, so I got a couple of like. I didn't think it was gonna get big quick. Like it was just like, okay, let's see what happens. And like people have been watching them, and I'm happy.
Okay.
I mean, I'm happy something's working because I mean, I knew I had to take a risk, but like you gotta take risks in this business to be successful, and the risk is paying off. I got people asking me, hey, it's not like to the point like where bowling alley I go bowl at. Usually during the week, like, hey, we'll let you do a video here if you're okay with that. I'm like, yeah, I want that shock and awe factor, but at the same time I don't want to get arrested. So
Sure. So if you were to look back over, I guess it's 12 years now, right?
Yeah.
If you were to look back over this 12 years and say 2 or 3 guys have been my favorite opponents, who would you say they are and why?
Okay.